Hey guys, so firstly thanks for all the support of the channel so far. We're doing more tutorials for you, so I hope you enjoyed this deadlift tutorial that's coming up now. But what I want to offer you now is I want you to email in any videos of you lifting in the deadlift. Send it to my man Connor here. The link to his email will be in the description below, and I'll critique them over a video as well. So we'll put a video together with all you guys lifting, and I'll critique your lifts and give you some coaching points on them. So yeah, get emailing your videos now. Hey guys, we're down at the barn and today we're looking at deadlift. Okay, one of my signature events. I'm known for being a very narrow stance deadlifter. It's one of my strongest events, whether it's for reps or for 1 rep max. A few key points that we need to look at for the deadlift that are going to make you successful. We're still going to want to be consistent, we want to be aggressive with the pull, but we need to make sure we're getting into a good start position first. So let's have a look at what we need to be doing. So the worst thing you can do as a novice lifter is to look at Eddie Hall or Brian Shaw or Thor and go, right, I'm going to copy the way they lift exactly. These guys are giants. Okay, they've developed their own individual style of lifting, you need to develop yours. A lot of people go too wide with their stance and their grip. The key is to find your stance that allows you to get to a neutral spine position. For me, I found that a narrow stance with a narrow grip works best for my anthropometrics and my arm length, limb length. The key is to find what works for you. The best way to do that is to film from the side, but try different stances, okay? So try a slightly narrower stance. What we'll do is we'll go through some of the points today, and you can maybe try out whether you're going to go for a narrower stance with a narrow grip. I personally feel it's a better option for me. I'm not a huge guy. You know, I'm 145 kilos and 6'3", but it's probably worth trying different techniques and try what I'm going to take you through today in terms of stance, because I feel it's best for me and it'll work for a lot of people. The reason I feel a narrow stance works better, especially if you're a hamstring glute spinal erector dominant lifter, is because it shortens the pull. With a narrower stance, it means you can take a narrower grip, which means you can get a higher hip position. You're pulling the bar a much smaller distance, okay? You look at some of the great kind of IPF lifters back in the day, a lot of very narrow stance lifters before we brought in sumo. They're looking to shorten the pull as much as possible. The long armed guys, this is definitely one for you. Try a narrow stance, narrow grip, it means your hips are higher, much shorter pull. So setup on the deadlift is all important. You need to get into a good start position to have a nice clean lift. Starts with the feet. So what we're going to do, make sure we go for our setup. Our feet should be underneath the barbell. I like to set up so that if I'm looking straight down, the bar's going to cut off my big toe. That's important because we want to be in the same place underneath the bar every single time. From there, our grip comes down just outside our knees, outside our feet. I prefer to go with a double overhand grip or a hook grip if I need to, but most of the time I use straps. And then we're going to engage our lats as tight as we can. The way we do that is by bending the bar. Imagine you're trying to bend the bar or turn the inside of your elbows to face the front. So I'm pulling in nice and tight and sitting back on the deadlift. So a lot of guys will fail their deadlifts at the lockout and they think they're actually really close. And you know, the traditional solution is do more upper back work. In reality, their start position is poor. Okay, if you're in a poor start position, it means that your hips are already fully extended when you're getting into the top of the lift, and suddenly you're trying to lock out a deadlift with tiny muscles in your upper back because your glutes have all done all their work. Getting into a good start position is hugely important, and for that you need to be able to use your lats effectively. Okay, lat tightness stabilizes your thoracic spine. It maintains a good spinal position. It keeps your back braced, safe and strong, in a strong position to be able to transfer force through. So what to do that with the bar, once you've got into your stance that we've talked about, and we talked about bending the bar before, and that's a cue that I'll use to make sure that guys are getting their lats engaged into the lift. Okay, so I'm down with my grip. From here, I'm actually going to try and bend that bar, turning the inside of my elbows to the front, and getting my lats nice and strong. Okay, so you can see there, I'm not actually pulling against the bar, but the bar's lifting up off the floor. Okay, that's because I'm getting everything so tight, it's like I'm a coiled spring ready to explode. All right, but a lot of guys, you know, you might not understand what I mean by trying to get your lats tight. So there's a little drill here that I like to use with my athletes to replicate that tightness, and we're going to put it into the lift. So what we'll do is we'll have a band set up in the power rack like this. You're going to put your hands through the band, step back, drop your hips low so into a straight back position, and then from there you're going to pull and turn your palms to face up. Okay, so we start palms facing down, and as we pull in and row, we're squeezing our palms up. Okay, that feeling at the bottom is the tightness I need you to replicate at the bottom of your deadlift and through the whole lift. So have a feel. This could be a simple warm-up drill for you. You put the band on the top of the rack, do several reps, get a feeling of what that tightness is, and then replicate onto the deadlift. You know, even maybe if you put just, you know, 40 kilos, 60 kilos on the bar to start off with, do a set of 10 on the band, come in, do a set of 3 or 4 on the deadlift, make sure you're getting those lats tight before you even start. It's part of your prep work. So it's worth noting that you'll sometimes see lifters lift with like a soft thoracic spine, so their upper back slightly rounded. It just depends whether they can get down into that start position. A lot of the advanced lifters will use it. It does allow them to generate more speed off the floor, so the guys who are maybe a little bit weaker off the floor will use it. I personally think it's fine. I use it myself as well. The key is to keep obviously your lumbar spine and the lower end of your thoracic locked in tight. As long as that is tight, a slight bit of thoracic rounding is not really an issue. But if you're just starting out, it's probably worth still trying to drill to stay as tight as you can through as many sets as possible, because then once things get heavy, of course some stuff is going to start rounding, especially in your back. But the key is to get as many reps in with perfect spinal position, and that way you're going to learn to do it better. Okay, so we've got ourselves into a good start position, we're in a good stance, grip strong, our lats are tight, we're feeling that bar just come slightly off the floor. The key now is to pull back on the bar. This is a tip I got from Andy Bolton, first man to pull over 1,000, so he's probably a man worth listening to. The key is to get those shoulders going back. You should feel like if the bar wasn't there, you'd be falling over. Okay, so a key cue I'll use for this is shoulders back. If we're looking for a feeling, it's the feeling of like a WWE wrestler throwing himself onto the mat. So the key is to get those shoulders coming up first, or at least rising at the same pace as your hips. So what you do not want is your hips to rise early and to leave your shoulders behind. Shoulders and hips rising together is how we want to be pulling on this bar. And the key is to not lift the bar up, it's to pull the bar back and into yourself. So with a lot of the bigger lifters, you'll see them roll the bar into themselves to start the movement. I personally would advise against this. The reason the guys do that is because they need to push the bar away to be able to sink their hips to get into a good start position. They're advanced lifters, they're used to be able to doing that. If you think about it, all you're doing there is adding variance to the lift, and what we want to be doing is adding consistency, okay? So it's much easier to pull on a bar if it's in the same position, you've got your setup perfect every single time. That's why I always say pull from a static position. The second reason I'd probably say it's a good idea, especially in strongman, sometimes we get kit that doesn't roll. You might have a silver dollar where it's square boxes, or you might have a fixed barbell that doesn't roll very well if you're using straps. So I'd be very cautious about using the roll technique. Obviously if you're a much larger guy, you need to do that to get your hips down, but I probably wouldn't emulate that if you're more of a normal size. So if you're competing in strongman, the vast majority of competitions allow you to use straps, which is great. Especially for me, I've got a blown out bicep a couple of years ago. I prefer to keep going everything double overhand. If I had to, I'd probably go for a hook grip. But a couple of different options with straps. Okay, you've got your traditional lifting strap like that, which is just a loop. The end comes through, you wrap that around the bar and then lock on. The other option now, which these are the big game changer, are the figure of 8 straps. Okay, if you're competing in strongman, I would highly advise you get used to using these. They are brilliant. You effectively cannot drop the bar. It also means that you can release it in your hand a little bit more, which shortens the pull again. But there is definitely a correct way to put these on. Okay, you need to make sure first you get the right size for your hands, and then secondly, when you come down to the bar, we make sure that strap is coming straight down to the part where you want the weight to be traveling through. Okay, obviously the force is going to be going through the strap, not necessarily your hands. You need to put the strap where the force is going to go through. From there, you're just going to grip just to the side of it. Okay, you're not going to push the strap too far over and try and get a full grip here. that's not going to be useful at all. You can make sure that the strap is where you usually put it in the middle of your hand, and then just get your thumb and finger around the bar. So in Strongman these days, we're using a lot of different barbells for the different lifts. Recent trend now has moved over to using a deadlift bar, such as this one. A deadlift bar, obviously we're using that with the world records the whole time. Still weighs 20 kilos, a little bit thinner, aggressive knurling, so it will rip your hands apart. But a little bit more flex as well, so it really kind of helps with the pull. They're a lot more flexible, they bend a lot more, and it's definitely worth, if you've got a competition coming out where you're using a deadlift bar, to practice on one. I mean, the first time I used a deadlift bar, my lift went down 20 kilos, because it definitely gets some getting used to. Okay, so obviously a normal deadlift bar, a lot more flex, means that the pull starts from a little bit higher. It also means that you need to be really, really tight in the bottom of the lift. That is key. Otherwise, it's going to throw your hips too high on that first pull before the weights have actually left the floor. Obviously, there's other bars. You might be using an IPF bar, which is a very stiff bar. The TIGHTNESS IPF bar is a standard, like for the purists, that's the only bar they should be using. Very, very stiff, no flex in it really at all. Comes in at about 29 mil. Yeah, I love this bar. It's one of my favorites. Using this a lot on my deadlifts at the moment. It's making it a lot harder. Like, the difference between putting on a deadlift bar and a IPF approved bar is insane. Just because the weight is coming directly off the floor as soon as you start pulling, as opposed to with a deadlift bar, you've got to pull the flex out of the bar, which means your hips are in a much higher position. That's why pulling on a deadlift bar is a lot easier. And finally, you might have an axle side handle car deadlift. There's a lot of different varieties of deadlifts at the moment, so make sure you are prepared and you're pulling on the bar that you need to in your training. That's hugely important. Don't do all your pulling on a Texas deadlift bar and then get to comp day and find out you've got an axle and suddenly it's a completely different start position for you. So that's my key coaching points for the deadlift, guys. Hopefully some of those help you. Okay, the three kind of takeaways from that video is make sure you're looking at your stance. Your start position is correct, and if you're going to use straps, you get used to using those straps on the right barbell that you can be using in competition. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more coaching videos and training videos. Like this video and leave me a comment and let me know what you thought, if you've got any questions about your deadlift and how I can help you.